In an age when kings were often measured by the blood they spilled, there came one who ruled not through endless battle, but through the rare and subtle art of peace. His reign was neither weak nor idle, for beneath the still waters of his rule lay strength, wisdom, and an iron grip upon England's fragile unity. This was Edgar I, called the Peaceful, 959 to 975, younger brother of the tragic Eadwig the Fair. If Eadwig's short reign was a tale of beauty, scandal, and division, Edgar's was its opposite: stability, prosperity, and quiet triumph. Yet his peace was not the absence of power. It was the product of careful alliances, religious reform, and a calculated balance of force. For 16 years, Edgar steered England into what chroniclers later called a golden age. And though he died young, his legacy became the foundation of English monarchy for centuries to come. Edgar was born around 943, the son of King Edmund I the Magnificent and his queen, Eligifu. He was a child when his father was murdered in 946, and the crown passed to his uncle, King Edred. When Edred died in 955, Edgar's elder brother, Eadwig the Fair, took the throne, leaving Edgar in the shadows. But even in youth, Edgar was different. Where Eadwig was impetuous and passionate, Edgar was reserved and calculating. Chroniclers hint that he was schooled by reform-minded clerics, men who instilled in him discipline, piety, and an understanding of kingship as both sacred duty and political chess. Eadwig's reign quickly collapsed into scandal and division. His conflict with Dunstan, abbot of Glastonbury, and his disastrous marriage to Glyfgifu fractured the kingdom. By 957, the nobles of Mercia and Northumbria had enough. They rejected Eadwig and turned to Edgar. At just 14 years old, Edgar was proclaimed king in the north, while his brother clung to the south. Yet remarkably, there was no war between them. Instead, England split quietly into two realms, Eadwig ruling Wessex and Kent, Edgar ruling Mercia and Northumbria. The division lasted until 959, when Eadwig died suddenly at the age of 18 or 19. Edgar, still a teenager, became sole ruler of all England. When Edgar took the throne at just 16, he inherited a kingdom weakened by division but not broken. His first act was to recall Dunstan, the exiled abbot who had clashed with Eadwig, and elevate him to Archbishop of Canterbury. This marked the beginning of one of the most important church-crown partnerships in English history. Under Edgar, Dunstan, along with Bishops Oswald and Thelwold, spearheaded the monastic reform movement. Monasteries were rebuilt, stricter rules of discipline enforced, and corruption rooted out. The church became not only a moral authority, but also a political ally, strengthening Edgar's legitimacy. Where his brother Eadwig had fought the church, Edgar embraced it. In doing so, he secured the unwavering support of England's most powerful institution. Edgar's reign was marked by something rare in the 10th century: peace at home and abroad. No Viking invasions shattered his realm. No great rebellions tore it apart. Chroniclers even claimed that merchants and travelers could cross England unarmed, without fear of robbery. Whether legend or fact, it speaks to the security of his reign. But Edgar's peace was not passive. He ruled with firmness. His laws were strict, his justice swift. The king enforced uniform weights and measures across the kingdom, seeking order in trade as much as in governance. He expanded the network of fortified burhs built by his predecessors, ensuring defense was always ready should raiders return. One of Edgar's most remarkable policies was his use of naval power. Each summer he assembled a fleet divided into 3 squadrons that patrolled England's coasts. This was no ceremonial show. This was deterrence in its purest form. Viking fleets had ravaged England for over a century, but under Edgar they did not dare strike. By ruling the waves, Edgar ensured that his title, the Peaceful, was not a mark of weakness, but of dominance. Though Edgar had been king since 959, his most famous coronation took place much later, in 973 at Bath, a symbolic act of renewal and triumph. The ceremony was grander than any before, blending sacred ritual with royal magnificence. According to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, kings from Scotland, Wales, Strathclyde, and even lesser rulers came to Bath to pledge their submission. Chroniclers tell the tale that Edgar was rowed on the River Dee by 8 tributary kings, a theatrical display of overlordship. Whether fact or embellished legend, it cemented Edgar's image as Lord of all Britain. The coronation liturgy created for Edgar's ceremony was so influential that it shaped English coronations for centuries, echoing even in the crowning of Elizabeth II in 1953. Though pious in reputation, Edgar's personal life was tangled. He had multiple wives and mistresses fathering children who would later divide the realm. By his first wife, Thelfeld, often called the White Duck, he had Edward, later known as Edward the Martyr. By his second wife, Wulfthryth, he fathered Edith of Wilton, who became a saint. His third marriage to Galthryth produced Thellard, later called the Unready. These rival lines of succession would haunt England after Edgar's death. For though his reign was peaceful, the seeds of conflict lay in the competing claims of his sons. Edgar died unexpectedly in 975 at the age of about 32. The cause is unknown. Some suggest illness, others whisper of divine judgment. He was buried at Glastonbury, where Dunstan had once ruled as abbot. His death unleashed the very storms his reign had held back. A succession crisis followed, as nobles and churchmen argued between his elder son, Edward, and his younger son, Thellard. The peace Edgar built crumbled swiftly, leading to bloodshed, betrayal, and the eventual Viking invasions that returned with fury under Thelred's ill-starred rule. History remembers Edgar as the Peaceful, but his peace was neither passive nor accidental. It was the result of careful statecraft, stern justice, naval strength, and a powerful alliance with the Church. His reign represents one of the high points of Anglo-Saxon England, an interlude of stability between the turmoil of his predecessors and the disasters of his successors. He shaped coronation traditions, strengthened the Church, secured the realm, and expanded England's influence across Britain. Yet perhaps because his rule was not marked by dramatic wars or scandal, his name is less remembered than Alfred the Great or Aethelstan, and yet his reign was the hinge upon which the destiny of England turned. Edgar's story is one of quiet brilliance. Where others sought glory in war, he found it in peace. Where others defied the Church, he bound it to his throne. Where others fractured the kingdom, he united it. His life was brief, but his model of kingship endured. Centuries later, when English monarchs were crowned, they echoed the liturgy first written for Edgar. His name, carved into chronicles, whispered through abbeys, remains a reminder that not all greatness comes from the sword. Edgar the Peaceful was not merely a king who avoided war. He was a king who mastered the art of ruling so well that war was unnecessary. And that, perhaps, is the rarest triumph of all.